Hi, this is Josanne Wright Calendar, and I'm here live at my studio away from home, but home away from home. I'm going to make sure my volume is up. Excuse me for a second. Yeah, it's kind of low. Okay, Josanne Wright Calendar, the author of Making Do, Growing Up Colored in the Jim Crow South During the Great Depression. And our banner is undergoing construction. It's going to be a different title, so I'm kind of covering up part of it. Those of you who've been following my blog for a while know what I'm talking about. Still, we're looking at the legal part of getting um, a banner for the book that will cover all three books. And right now, volume one is completed. I had a lot of corrections to make on it in preparing it for this trilogy. Um, but it's always important to do the groundwork that you must do, and knowing after you've done the groundwork, there's still going to be other things that you have to do. And so it's just part of being a writer, an author, and a publisher, and I'm learning it all at once. My background is in teaching. However, about 7 or 8 years into the teaching, I fell in love with, well, I always was a big fan of movies and television, and went to work in a public broadcasting station while I was teaching. So it seems like I've always done a couple of things at once and worked with a really wonderful team that produced um, Emmy awarded programs. And that really connected me with how writing can be informative and entertaining, which is what I'm trying to do and attempting. And I think from the responses of the readers so far, it's working. That I've taken this legacy tale that really was inspired by my parents and how they met, fell in love in the 1940s, and wanted to write this book for like 30 years. And and during that time, gathering up the ability to write something of this nature, I found that my interests it also involved history and social commentary. And as I was writing this story, I saw how many similarities there were between the 1940s and our time now. However, things were much, much more complicated and challenging and difficult and really terrible for African Americans growing up at that time, blacks. I remember uh, one pundit said, "I'm not African American. I've never been to Africa," and he preferred the term Black Americans. So, I know who I am, and my identity is in my past as well as my present. But when I looked at my parents and how they went through the Jim Crow South as Black people, it really inspired me. I said, I've got to tell this story. So that's what Making Do's trilogy. Book two is being edited right now. In book three, I'm beginning to move ahead on the chapters. I'm about a third through. And at times you wonder, well, how many things can I juggle at once? But it's really, really interesting to me that as I'm working on the audiobook for volume one, too. As I'm listening to the audio, I'm taken back to some things that I like to explore a little bit further in volume two, and it's giving me some ideas for volume three. So it's all important. But what I wanted to say today is that this began in the 80s when my mother, who wrote poetry, wanted to publish her works. And so I gave her a journal and I said, "Hey, hi mom, just collect your poetry in here, then we'll publish it." We did. It's Poems of Southern Faith. So if you go on Amazon, you can see that title. And, it's a beautiful book of her Southern wisdom. But, it's interesting how when we help someone start their creative process, it actually feeds our own creative process. I didn't anticipate that, but it happened. So, this is a collection of stories that do reflect on how my parents grew up, but it's a fictionalized account. And I just hope that it's entertaining while you learn something. So, thank you for subscribing. Please share, and we'll talk soon. Bye bye.